So what factors make up your FICO credit score? That's a good question. Let's dive into the details in today's training. Hey everyone, it's Mike Adams, and on this channel we empower individuals to achieve freedom through improved financial literacy. If you're new to the channel, make sure to click subscribe and click the bell so that way you get notified on any and all of our future training. So in today's video, guys, we're going to be really breaking it down. What factors make up, and really in the percentages, the whole works. What factors make up your FICO credit score? And this is a fantastic question. And for all of you that are new to credit and really just new to this world of understanding credit, it is so important to know what factors actually make up that dang score in the first place. And if you're here on this video because you're looking to improve your score, like, what can I do to make my credit score stronger, make it better? The first step is actually understanding what factors actually make up that credit score in the first place, just so that way you're not taking a bunch of action on stuff that may have less of an impact than you might think. So there are 5 factors that make up your FICO credit score, and we're going to break each and every one of these down for you. And then we're also going to break them down in order of importance, which will be denoted by the percentage of your score that it makes up, okay? So the first factor that affects your FICO credit score is payment history, okay? And this is the most heavily weighted factor of all the different things that can either raise or lower your score. It is definitely payment history, as it makes up 35% of your credit score is based on payment history. And when it comes to payment history, there's really kind of 3 things that they're really looking at. The first thing is recency. Okay, so how long has it been since you've had a late payment? Has it been just a couple of months, or has it been maybe several years since you've been late? Maybe you've never been late at all. So they're looking at the recency. When is the last time you've been late on one of your installments or one of your revolving payments? The second key to that is as well frequency. Okay, so let's say you did have a late payment, a couple months ago. Was it just that one, right? Or is this something that's been happening year after year after year? Are you ending up with multiple late payments year after year on that account? Is it something that's happening very frequently? If so, again, that's another notch that's going to affect your credit score if the frequency is there. And the third thing is severity. Right, so how late, if you are late, right, how late are you letting it go? So let's say you miss a truck payment. Are you, maybe it gets to a 30 days late, but then you pay it off, right? That would be, one thing. But let's say, you were late and then it took you 90 days. You got a 90 days late, on that particular installment. That is going to be quite a bit more severe than a 30 days late, and it's going to impact your score quite a bit more based on the severity. So again, recency, frequency, and severity, those are going to be the 3, kind of the key cogs that make up payment history. So the second factor that's going to make up your FICO credit score is going to be overall indebtedness or credit utilization. Sometimes it's called one of the two, depending on which website you're looking at or who you're getting the information from. And the 2 main factors here that they're really looking at is, number 1, how much overall debt do you have? Okay, so what is your overall indebtedness? What is your overall debt load here? Okay, what is X, right? So let's say you got a mortgage, you got a student loan, you got a car loan, and you got a couple of credit cards with balances. What is that overall debt load? What is that number? And the second thing is credit utilization. And obviously when we're taking out a loan, right? You take out a loan to buy a vehicle, obviously you're using all of that loan to buy the vehicle. So, they're not necessarily looking at the loans with the credit utilization. They're looking more at your revolving accounts when it comes to credit utilization. So let's say you've got a credit card with a $10,000 limit, okay? If you're using, let's say you've got a $2,000 balance on that card, okay, your credit utilization is going to be 20%. You're using 20% of that card. Now, again, many of you have multiple lines of credit. So imagine all of your lines of credit, add up all of the available limit, and then how much of that available limit across the board are you using? And you can divide those 2 numbers to determine your your revolving credit utilization. And this is a big time deal because utilization here makes up 30% of your credit score. Okay, so if you have cards and you've got them maxed out, that is going to impact your credit score in a big way. So especially if you're looking to go ahead and qualify for a new line of credit, maybe you're going for a mortgage or going for a different type of a loan, you're going to want to make sure that your utilization levels are low. Typically, you want to keep them below 30%. Certainly, the lower, the better. And truthfully, when it comes to revolving credits, if we can really be on top of our game and on top of our cash flow, we want that revolving debt to be at 0%. We don't necessarily want to carry balances on our lines of credit unless we need to for some particular reason. Okay, so we always want to have a reason if we're going to carry a balance, period. So the third factor that's going to make up your FICO credit score is going to be what's called age of file. Okay, and of this category, okay, so there's really two key components here. The number one, and really the two key cogs here, what they're looking at is number one, what is the age of your oldest active account? Okay, and in some of my other videos, you've heard me talk about different credit cards that I still have. I have a credit card that is my oldest aged account. And the reason that I keep that card, right, even though it's a low limit card, we don't use it. We have other better cards now, but it was one of the very first credit cards that I got, and I still maintain that card. We still run a transaction or two per year on that card just to keep it active. And the reason why is because of the second factor to this, obviously age of file. When you open that first line of credit, it's kind of like planting a flag in the ground, like, hey, this is what I'm establishing that I am entering the world of credit. So the older, the better. Okay, so really when you're thinking about getting those first couple lines of credit, plan on keeping those for the long haul. The second factor to this, to age of file, is not only are they looking at your oldest, active account, the age of that particular account, but they're also looking at the average age of all of your open accounts, okay? Which is another reason why that old card that I have, I still maintain that card because again, it's my oldest card. If I was to close that account, okay, now it is going to reduce, okay, my average age of file. And because of that, I will probably keep that line of credit open for as long as that bank exists. And that bank has been around for a long time, so I don't think we have anything to worry about there. So again, the age of your oldest active account and the average age of all of your active accounts make up age of file. And again, this is a big chunk, okay? This is 15%. Okay, of your credit score is age of file. So you're gonna wanna have those in as strong a position as possible. The fourth factor that makes up your FICO credit score is called new credit, and it's also sometimes called inquiries, okay? Again, depending on where you're getting the information. But again, we're talking about the same thing here, is because they wanna look at, and again, this is something that, again, is not as heavy as payment history, right? New credit is 10% of your credit score. And so what they're really looking at here is how much new credit have you applied for over the last 24 months, okay? So in the last 2 years, how many times have you inquired or applied? Again, whether or not you qualified for that line of credit or not, how many times have you inquired to get a new line of credit, okay, in the last 24 months? And again, what they're looking at is a snapshot, like a rolling snapshot of 24 months. How many times have you applied for credit? And during that snapshot, if you have an inquiry, maybe one or two, that's normally not going to be a problem. However, let's say over the last 24 months, you've applied for, let's say 9 different, credit cards. You open, you got 2 car loans, and now you've got 11 inquiries on here over the last 24 months. That's a lot of dings, hard inquiries on your credit. And again, 10% is a moderately decent sized chunk. And so if you have a lot of inquiries, that is something in a 24-month period, that is something that will lower your score. So if you are anticipating needing to qualify for credit, you're not gonna wanna ding your credit. And sometimes I know it's tempting when you go to Target or you go to Sam's Club and they offer you, hey, if you apply for this line of credit, you'll get 10% off today, right? On whatever's in your cart. So I mean, it's obviously it's a great deal, and when you're on the spot, it's like, man, I want to get that 10%. I want those points, whatever the case may be. However, if you're planning on, let's say, going for a mortgage or going for some type of loan, if you got all those inquiries, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for you to qualify because of all of that new credit and all those new hard inquiries that are on your report. And the fifth factor that's going to make up your FICO credit score is going to be what's called mix of file, okay? And mix of file is going to make up 10%, okay, of your credit score. So kind of like new credit inquiries, so another 10% piece here. And so mix of file, what is that? Okay, so all that is, simply put, is they want to see that you're able to function properly in the world of credit with different types of credit. Okay, so let's say you've got, a credit card, that is a revolving line of credit. Okay, so that's one type of credit that, if you make your payments on time, that's great, you'll score well there. But they also want to see that you can handle, let's say, an installment loan. So let's say you buy a truck, and so now you've been making your payments on that. Now you're making these monthly payments. That's great for the installment portion of that mix of credit. They also like to see a mortgage or other real estate loans, okay? So again, if you're looking to make the best possible credit score, you don't just want to have a stack of credit cards in your wallet. You're going to want to have a good mix of credit here that shows that you're able to play the credit game with multiple types of credit and make those payments on time. So there you go, guys. Those are the 5 things that make up your FICO credit score. Again, we're talking payment history. Again, 35% of your FICO credit score is payment history. And again, we're looking for recency. We're looking for frequency. We're looking for severity. When it comes to making those payments, the number one thing you can do when it comes to payment history is make every single payment on time. On time, every time, and you won't have any problems, and you'll max out this 35%. Number 2 is utilization. Again, overall indebtedness, sometimes it's called. And really the primary trigger and the main thing they're looking at here is, again, how much debt do you have? And then when it comes to revolving lines of credit, what is your credit utilization ratio? What is that percentage? How much of your revolving lines are you using? The lower percentage, the better. Number 3, age of file. And again, we want to have as long of an age of file as humanly possible. And then as well, we want to have a strong average age of accounts. So again, when you get those first couple lines of credit, you don't want to close those, okay? Because it's going to factor in to your age of file. So hold on to those old cards. Sometimes it's even worth paying a small annual fee to maintain a line that you've maybe had, 10, 15 years. Sometimes it's worth paying that fee just to maintain that, especially if you want to have the strongest possible score. And again, using different techniques, there's lots of different ways to offset a fee if you did have to pay one. Number 4, new credit or inquiries. Again, you want to make sure to minimize the number of inquiries you have in a 24-month period. And number 5, mix of credit. Again, you don't just want to have a bunch of credit cards. That's not going to allow for you to build the strongest possible credit score. You want to have some installment loans, even a mortgage or real estate loans, again, to build and strengthen your credit profile. Hopefully you found value in this training. If you did, make sure to give it a comment, give it a like below, and as well, share this video with a friend. Share it on your social media if you have people in your life that you feel would benefit from this information. I will see you in the next video.